Welcome to the Pool Kind of Podcast, the new home for boxing. My name is Wendy, and I am your host and curator, bringing you the most honest takes on the sport I love without the bias and without the politics. A spot where we can all lead, seasoned veterans to the game and newcomers alike. So stay strapped in, subscribe, wrap those hands right, give us 5 stars, and keep that chin tucked. Tell your people about us. So who you got? The Pool Kind of Podcast. Let's go. Really appreciate you tuning in to the Pool Counter. I am your host, Wendy, and today we're going to get right into it. First, we're going to start with a fight that happened almost 12 days ago or something like that. It's almost 2 weeks now, but don't worry. I promise I'm going to get more frequent with y'all. But that's going to be Erickson Lubin versus Jesus Ramos Jr. Erickson Lubin is now 26-2, I believe, and Jesus Ramos Jr. is 20-1. He suffered his first loss that weekend or whatnot. That was an interesting fight. All right, let me first start with the facts. You got Lubin, who won by unanimous decision. One judge had it, I think, 115, 113. Another one had it 116, 112. And there was a third one, 117, 11. 117, 111, sorry. Yeah. I wanted to do this right quick before I got into my thoughts on it. Let me give y'all, for the casuals, for the beginners, newcomers to the sport or whatnot, let me give y'all what a job of a judge is. And by the way, there are 3 judges, usually. All right, so the boxing commission that licenses a fight selects the judges from a list of ring officials who have completed the officials certification course of the Association of Boxing Commissions. The judges are usually from a neutral location compared to the contestants. The commission appoints each official. The officials are contract employees of the promoter of the match. All right, that's a big little, it's a big point right there. For championship contests, the commission also appoints a supervisor and 3 judges. So championship fights, there's always like a 4th. That's kind of like supervising the whole situation. The judges are usually seated at ringside. A majority vote of judges determines the outcome of the contest. Now, to become a boxing judge, you can complete the officials certification course of the Association of Boxing Commissions. That's one. You can take the level 3 test at a designated national event and pass with 90% or better. Contact the State Athletic Commission and tell them you want to be a judge. Be at least 18 years of age. Schedule yearly eye exams and pass a medical examination. Yeah. That's it. Notice you didn't hear you have to have had a history in fighting or boxing. Shoot, you didn't even hear that you had to ever have taken a punch in your life. All right. 117, 111, 116, 112 even. That's petty theft. That's petty theft. It's petty theft. Now, I'm trying not to pile on, man, because everybody's been calling it a robbery, one of the biggest robberies of the year or whatnot. And we see a lot of them every year, but I'm not going to dogpile like that because I actually do like Erickson Lubin. He is and has been. I remember seeing his first televised fight. He's been one of my favorite fighters. But I can't be biased when it comes to the sport I love, man. I can't be biased when it comes to boxing. If we're going to be biased here, then we can't be biased when our guy loses the next one. You know what I'm saying? So we got to keep it funky. We got to keep it G. All right. Now, in his past fights, let's go to one of his past fights. All right, because I want to look at it from a different angle. Let's look at the Terrell Goucher fight that was in, I think, 2020. Yes. Look at how Lubin fought in that fight. All right. And this is what I've been used to as far as Lubin's style. Right. He's a boxer puncher. Right. Always been that. Some might argue puncher boxer or something like that, but I think he's a boxer puncher. Right? He's a very skilled guy, but he's always relied on his nickname's Hammer Time. You know what I mean? He had a hammer on him. Always an exciting fighter. Always great to watch his fights. And you can look at the Terrell Goucher fight where he ended up stopping him. And Goucher was a good fighter, really good prospect. He was right there to get into that next level. But so was Lubin. Yeah, I mean, at one point at least, before getting stopped in his first loss. But look back also at the Fundora fight from 2022, and that was actually the fight of the year. That was an amazing fight. Watch how Lubin fought in that fight as well. Aggressive, boxer, puncher style, coming forward, counter punching. And Fundora is no slump. He's a highly touted prospect. He recently just took his first loss. Unfortunately, that was a crazy fight. But that fight I'm talking about, Fundora versus Lubin, 2022, that fight was so good. It took a little bit out of each guy, from my opinion. From my opinion, after watching the guys after that fight. And by the way, Lubin he looked like you thought Errol Spence was bad. Lubin looked like Martin. You know what I mean? It was crazy. Lubin looked like Martin from when he fought Hearns in that episode of Martin. It was that crazy. It was that crazy. But it was an amazing fight. Don't think he just laid down, or don't think it was a one-sided dominant victory between him and Fundora, because he actually knocked down Fundora, gave Fundora his first. Fundora had to go to a knee actually, but that was an amazing fight. And Fundora just ended up edging him out. Man, I thought Lubin was, man, that looked like one of those fights where he a warrior is what I'm trying to say, man. And he's always been that, but he just always had actual boxing ability and skill as well, top-notch boxing ability and skill. So when I look at a fight like his uh, most recent prior to this last one, he fought a guy named Luis Arias. This should have been a tune-up fight, honestly. Arias is not on his level skill-wise. Why was the fight competitive? If you watch it, it's competitive. Up until the point it wasn't. Lubin caught him slipping or whatnot. Lubin's style shifted a little bit, it seems. Seems like he's more going towards more of the boxer. I'm not sure if he worked with somebody like Shakur Stevenson, young fella. He definitely sharpened up his defense a bit. I will say that. Because if you look at, like I said, that Fundora fight, if you're going in there fighting a guy who's known as a banger, you really want to be careful. And Lubin's been in the game for a long time, so I could see him switching up just to conserve himself a bit more as far as health overall. Because you want to actually have a decent quality of life after you're done with the sport, right? That fight should have been an easy fight for him. The Arias fight should have been an easy fight for him, but switching his style up is what I think he wanted that fight for reasons of like pretty much just working on that new style, that more defensive style. And judging by what you thought about the fight against Jesus Ramos Jr., maybe you think it worked, maybe you think it didn't. I don't know. You might be one of them people that think he won. But either way, coming from my opinion, like I said, I called it petty theft. I didn't just call it straight up robbery, but petty theft for sure. Now, I personally think the boxing gods looked out for Lubin in this fight, right? And it is what it is. It happens to the best of us. It happens to the worst of us, right? But if I can give any advice, keep your head up, keep your chin up, keep working on this new style because it is something that can prolong your career. And I wish you the best. Charlo is on his way back down, though. I'm sure he's going to be looking at Tim Tszyu. Tszyu has a fight coming up soon with Brian Mendoza. That's going to be a good one. And by the way, that's, Tszyu and Charlo is obviously the bigger fight. So obviously that's why, because I would love to see Charlo Lubin too. I would love to see that. I would love to see that, especially how the first one ended. You know what I mean? We didn't really get a good fight. Given that Mendoza doesn't upset the apple cart by beating Tszyu, maybe if Charlo comes down, maybe he underestimates you. Like maybe he just thinks of you as a speed bump on the way to Tszyu, making that big fight, getting the unified again or undisputed. Maybe you upset the apple cart. Maybe you spoil the whole thing. You know what I mean? Maybe you spoil that party. Maybe you get undisputed. Because I think you're better than Charlo. I just think you bad luck of the draw that first fight between y'all, man. So I am definitely looking to that rematch. Hopefully y'all can make that happen. And by the way, we know some of the same people, man. So we gotta have a conversation, man. I'd like to have you on the show. All right, so that's enough about that fight. Let's move on. Another fight from that card was Yordenis Ugas and Mario Barrios. Ugas now being 27-6, and Mario Barrios being 28-2. It was a pretty competitive fight until it wasn't. Ugas, of course, lost. But it was his eye that gave up before his heart. You know what I mean? Like if you watch the fight, he actually had his, what is it, his right or left? I can't remember which one. It might be his right orbital bone, which is the bone around your eye. He had that bone broken in a fight against Errol Spence Jr. And I can't remember what year. That was 2022, maybe? Yeah, it was I think it was his fight prior to getting beat by Terrence Crawford. You don't come back the same from that. I don't think anybody really ever comes back the same for that. Like that's one of those injuries where they say you don't break it once. Like especially if you're active, right? I actually like Ugas. I thought he caught a major break beating Pacquiao, an old Pacquiao. I never thought he was an A level fighter per se, but I always love Cuban fighters. So shout out to him. I hope he gets well. But this is one of those situations where these are gonna be real conversations you have to have with your family, right? Your family and your loved ones in regards to the future, in regards to the quality of life that you wish to have post your boxing career, right? I mean, I'm assuming you made enough money. Hopefully, you're not one of those guys that you know, does his whole Anthony Walker thing or Antoine Walker thing, excuse me. Salute to you. Like I said, I hope you're well, man. But shout out to Mario Barrios getting that win. You took out a good guy. Yeah, I mean, not sure what this means for you because you lost. No, you won your one right before that. You took two losses though, which was crazy. You look good coming back. You look decent in this one. Uh, I was expecting you to actually finish Ugas, but it is what it is. He is a warrior. But shout out to you regardless, man. We'll see what you do next. All right. Uh, let's see. The fight of that night, the fight of that card, Saul Canelo Alvarez versus Jermell Charlo. All right. Canelo now being 60-2, and Jermell being 35-2-1. All right. So the facts there, obviously, y'all should know by now, right? These ain't new details. These are just my perspectives on these fights, right? Canelo won by unanimous decision. One card had it 118-109. Another card had it 118-109. So that's two. And the last card had it 119-108. That card is valid. This fight was a complete domination. I almost felt like Charlo showed up to one, get paid, and two, make a new business partner or something like that. He's looking to maybe get to the next level business wise as far as his portfolio goes. And who better than Canelo, right? Especially if you're not close with Floyd or anything like that. I don't know, but that's what it seemed like to me. I could be wrong. I could be wrong. This could have just been a money play because he didn't look like he wanted to win. It looked like he wanted to prevent a knockout, like I mean, just survive. And shout out to him because everybody knows that I wanted him to win. I would have never bet on him winning though. Like I love the sport. I thought Canelo had it the whole way, uh, but the shakeup that would have happened in boxing if Charlo pulled off the freaking upset of the century, that would have been amazing. And that's where I'm on the record, right? But and shout out to Stephen A. Smith. And I'm not trying to dog pass us. He's been going through a lot recently. It's a lot when you're rich, right? But whatever. But he's on record saying Charlo would outbox Canelo. Yeah. It kind of reminds me of when Stephen A used to be at all those like MMA events with the UFC, and everybody acknowledged that he didn't know what he was talking about. But shout out to him. Like I said, I don't want to dogpile on him and stay on him too long, man. ESPN's definitely getting their money's worth though. And it is what it is. All right, so what, and because I already talked about sort of what's next for Jermell Charlo, so I'm gonna just get right into what I think should be next for Saul Alvarez, right? Canelo. One, the Bivol rematch. We got to see you get your lick back, big fella. All right, little fella, but we got to see you get your lick back. And Bivol's been waiting for you. What you waiting on? All right, two, Terrence Bud Crawford. just resurfaced yesterday that you said that you were cool with fighting Errol Spence at 160, like you coming down to 160 to fight Errol Spence. Does that not apply for Bud Crawford? Or did you just see something in Spence that you could take advantage of? And I've been saying it for a long time. I mean, and a lot of guys have learned from Mayweather, who I think is the greatest fighter of all time, but a lot of guys aren't really trying to take crazy risk like that. And I get it, but Canelo's definitely in that phase of his career. It's weird though, because you're not even that old. So I know Floyd was a little older in his career, a little long in the tooth when he was taking what some would call easier fights or whatnot, or cherry picking or whatever. But you still kind of in your prime, dog. I mean, you're a little heavy footed now, but you're still one of the best skill wise, and we done seen your power. Like, challenge yourself again, man. Come on. All right. Because Jermell wasn't it. We know that. All right. So, third, the winner of the Demetrius Andrade and Benavidez fight. Either one of those guys I'll be good with. Everybody's obviously screaming at the top of their lungs for you to fight Benavidez. That would be great too. But I think Andrade would give you a tough fight as well. So those are the three things I think you should do. Really, that's four, but we'll see. That PBC deal is gonna be pretty lucrative. Obviously, it's already pretty lucrative for Canelo. So we'll see who he chooses next. At this point, the world is his oyster. I just hope he gives the boxing fans what they deserve. All right. So we'll see. All right. So next, we just talked about the PBC. I've been hearing a lot of rumors about them being dead in the water, meaning their company is going downhill. That couldn't be more far from the truth. I can't see that happening at all. Now, what actually happened is the PBC's deal with Showtime actually ran out, which is not surprising because most major television companies, like HBO just did it not too long ago, getting rid of their boxing division. Uh, they don't see the value or return for what they're spending on the sport and on these events like they used to see during the Mayweather period, right? That whole Mayweather era was amazing. It was lucrative. Everybody was winning. We don't really have that guy in boxing yet. I mean, maybe it'll come. Maybe somebody will figure out something, a new niche, so to speak, or a way to attack and get the fans interested. But when guys are protecting their O's or saving face to not get knocked out, so they're not going as hard as they could, like Jermell just did, that actually, in the long run, harms the sport. And I know we all have our fans and our favorites or whatnot, but being biased ain't gonna help, right? I remember tweeting during the fight back and forth. And I'm not gonna say back and forth with this guy, but just seeing his tweets and kind of responding to him, Shakur Stevenson. And we know how one-sided he can be when he's recounting situations, him and Devin Haney, or whether he's trying to be biased and back his boy or somebody, or somebody he's interested in, like Vasil Lomachenko, again with Devin Haney saying Vasil won. You can't really go by what this guy says, and he's always going to fall back on, oh, you guys aren't fighters, or oh, don't listen to the announcers. Yeah, I'm not. Yeah, I ain't mad at that. The commentators aren't the greatest a lot of times, but you might as well say, don't listen to you. You know what I'm saying? You don't went back on your word plenty of times, man. So it is what it is. But let's see. Boxing's path forward, right? Since we're kind of getting into that anyways. I think the IBF, the WBO, the WBA, and the WBC should all come together and create a new unified governing body for the sport, period. Right? The belts need to be consolidated. Now, these governing bodies are obviously going to lose a little bit because, as some of you may know already, fighters get charged a fee or a percentage when they fight, when they have a belt, and this is the way these people keep their pockets padded, I guess. I'm not a big fan of that, and neither are a lot of fighters. Tons of fighters have been calling it out recently, most notably Errol Spence and Terrence Crawford in their most recent bout. Uh, so these companies, really, these governing bodies, these four governing bodies are going to lose some money in the short term, but it's ultimately going to be better for boxing, right? Better for boxing, like literally, the sport can survive another 300 years, right? But also, I think that we need to go ahead and consolidate these belts as well. All right. Instead of 4 belts per division and all these intercontinentals, all these extra belts over here, over there, make 1 belt. It's very possible. We can do it. Right. Just how back in the day, I remember growing up in an era where the Super Six was a thing. You know what I mean? And there's still tournaments now, mostly in the UK. They're bigger boxing fans, but Super Six was amazing. Boxing, top boxers from all over the world. And this was middleweights at the time, all coming together. It was kind of a reality show type situation, kind of like the Contender involved as well. And bring that back, by the way. But that was awesome to see. And at the end, the guy got the belt, which was awesome. All right, and that was Andre Ward, legendary guy, by the way, and also one of Shakur's, part of Shakur's management team, one of his managers. But salute to Andre Ward, right? SOG. But there's a way to do this. It's not impossible. Boxing has been around a very long time, and it's worked a certain way, and people have been making bread on it for a long time without putting anything back into it. That's how you can go from the top sport in the country to the point where people say, "Is it still a thing, or isn't it dead?" Or you know what I mean? Like, there's a path forward, right? All right. So, and by the way, I also to piggyback on the end of that, or put a tail on the end of that donkey. All of like the amateurs, like amateur boxers, and also other organizations that are giving these extra belts out and stuff that we never heard about. That can be considered like the G League, right? It can be the G League. I don't know what, and by the way, I don't know what these 4 organizations will come together and name themselves or name the 1 belt that goes out in about per weight division, but that'll fix a lot. That'll fix a lot. All right. Bring back, like I said, bring back the Contender, do Super Six tournaments, record it all. People need to fall in love with these guys again. People need to know these guys. You know what I mean? Like, there's tons of talent. There should have been a camera following Carmel. That's Floyd's new young fighter. They're calling him the new Tank. But camera should have been following him around all month, all year. You know what I'm saying? Like, that would be exciting. Boxing fans would love that, and you'd create a lot of new boxing fans, right? Uh let's see. And by the way, this is all just the start, right? And I can help put it together. I mean, just hit my line. I could definitely help putting it together. All right, so all right, man. Let's get right into the who you got segment. All right, let's do that, man. Who you got? Who you got? All right, so as far as the who you got segment today, we got some fights on Saturday and some fights and one fight on Sunday. The fights on Saturday, I got laughed out the building last time I talked about them, but I'm gonna still talk about them and give my take or opinion on these fights. It is what it is. It's still boxing technically, and the fight I'm really looking forward to is happening on Sunday. Well, it's still Saturday actually, but where they are, I think it's in Australia, and they're ahead. You know what I'm saying? So over there it's Sunday, but you can watch it on Saturday, I believe. And I think is it gonna be really early? It's gonna be one of those really early fights, I believe. But don't quote me on that, y'all. I ain't double checked that, right? Google. All right, so the one I'm most excited for is Tszyu versus Brian Mendoza, and that is happening in Australia. So it's the 15th for them, which is a Sunday for us, but we can see it on Saturday here. I want to say Tszyu by unanimous decision. Like, it go 12 and he just wins the majority on the cards. Easily, too. Mendoza, don't get me wrong, is a strong, tough competitor. But I think he sometimes takes a shot too many times to give a shot. And Zoo is real precise. Real precise, and he puts a little extra on them hooks. So, whew, I'm going to say Zoo by KO. Now, I'm no longer, at least at this point, going to give a round prediction, y'all. Y'all got to figure that out yourself. But uh, first fight, I'm gonna say Tszyu, Timothy Tszyu by KO. All right. So now to the supercilious fights. All right. So KSI versus Tommy Fury. Mm. Okay, so I got Fury by unanimous decision. As long as KSI can't throw elbows. If he can throw elbows, KSI all day. All right, but this ain't that kind of fight. So sorry. It is what it is. Tommy Fury by unanimous decision. I don't think he has it in him to knock KSI out. I don't see it. And that'll shake up that little YouTube, Twitch world, whatever he's in. That'll shake it up though. If KSI gets knocked out, that'll be crazy. All right. So this another fight that's on that same card, same day actually, is going to be Jake Paul versus Dillon Danis. That fight has had crazy buildup, a lot of disrespect going both ways, but more going towards Jake Paul. Dillon Danis was going crazy, talking about the man's fiance or girlfriend, whatever the case is. Yeah, I'll let y'all figure that out if y'all go on YouTube. But geez, that kind of disrespect, ooh, yeah, kind of crazy. But I'm gonna say Jake Paul by KO. Actually, TKO. I think the ref has to get into that one, stop that one there. Um, yeah, I don't think he puts him to sleep. I think he starts kind of just wailing on him, and the ref kind of jumps in the middle. I don't think Dillon Danis has what it takes, man. And I'm rarely, by the way, ever gonna go for the MMA guy versus a boxer. And granted, this is Jake Paul, but he's probably been boxing more than Dillon Danis, and have that more as a focus at least. That's how I see it. That's gonna be who you got. Maybe I'm forgetting a fight or two. I doubt it. That's what I got for today, y'all. That's who you got. All right. And I think that's the show. I appreciate y'all again. I'll be back with it. All right. Appreciate y'all. I'm out. Follow the Pool Counter Podcast on IG and YouTube at the Pool Counter Pod and at Pool Counter Pod on Twitter. Available where you get your podcast. Show your host some love at Wendy Antoine 5 and email the show at the Pool Counter Boxing Pod at gmail.com. Appreciate you tuning in and supporting the movement. And remember, leave 5 stars, share the love. Peace.